Hey guys, Dylan here. In this video, we're going to talk about why you're stuck in tutorial hell, the real reason. So if you don't know who I am, my name's Donald. I'm an entrepreneur and self-taught software engineer. And make mistakes so you don't have to. And really the purpose of this channel and the reason why I created it is to kind of share my journey and share the lessons that I've learned along the way so you don't have to make the same mistakes I did. So recently, I was reflecting on my journey and why it took me so long to get interview ready. Because I did have an on-site interview with LinkedIn recently, and the fact that I was stuck in tutorial hell for so long. Now, if you look on YouTube, there are going to be a lot of material on tutorial hell, tutorial purgatory, how to escape from it, and actionable advice. But I always wondered, why is it that I'm stuck in tutorial hell? Because if you can figure out the reason why, it's actually going to do you a lot better than just knowing the tactical advice on why you're stuck in tutorial hell, if that makes sense. So, anyway, I was recently reflecting on why I just couldn't figure out LeetCode and why I just couldn't code out anything on my own, right? I was learning mobile app development, and I was doing all the tutorials. I would buy courses on Udemy, and then I'd go to code out my own projects, and I had no idea what to do. And then when I was studying for LeetCode, I'd sit there, I convinced myself that I didn't know what the solution was. So after 5 minutes, I would just look at the answer. And then you look at the answer, and you write it out on your own, and then you tell yourself, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. And then, you try that solution again, and you realize that you have no idea what you're doing. And then that you falsely convince yourself that you actually understand the problem. It's like you understand that for this problem, you need to know how to use, say, 2 pointers, or backtracking, or DFS, or BFS, or it's a graph problem, but you don't really know how to implement it, right? And this was one of my main problems. And when it came to coding, in terms of like learning to code myself, I realized this at the same time. Is after the tutorials, I just couldn't code anything on my own. So, what's the reason behind this? Well, the reason behind this is because I was uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. Now, what does this mean? So, I find this because let's talk about it from a tutorial standpoint, right? When you're following the tutorials, it's nice and comfortable, and you're following along to the instructor, and you know that if you type out this line, you're going to get X. And then if you type out this line, you're going to get Y. And if you do everything that's done inside of the tutorial, you're going to get the program to work. It's nice and structured. And I think a lot of people operate from that point of view, right? But the reality is, programming doesn't really work like that. And life doesn't really work like that. Because what I found is, it wasn't just the tutorials and learning to program, but I experienced it in my business as well. I used to have a digital marketing business, and I would take all these courses, right? And in these courses, I would, follow what exactly their scripts, exactly their sales scripts, and exactly the email script of how to reach out to prospects. And I experienced the same thing, right? I wouldn't get the results I'm looking for, and also I just didn't really know what I was doing. That was the main thing. And what I came to realize is this is also apparent with LeetCode as well, is I was uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, right? So I was uncomfortable with sitting there and really being uncomfortable, not knowing the answer, and not being able to, try things on my own, which is what we're going to talk about later on in this video. And it wasn't just this, right? It really applied to all areas of my life. So, for example, I'm currently learning to play guitar, which you might notice in the background in the case over there. So I was also stuck there and plateauing, right? And the reason for this is I was learning the same four songs over and over and over again. So when I would practice, I would, play Stairway to Heaven, Nothing Else Matters, November Rain, Little Wing. But what happened is I began to think to myself, why am I stuck? Right? And then I was stuck because I was uncomfortable again with playing things really slowly and struggling to play the song. Whether if it was a weird chord shape or it was just really fast, it was shredding. I was really unwilling to go through that sucky period, right? So now the question might be, what's the solution here? You need to embrace not knowing the answer and be willing to think critically of the answer. And you need to take that scientist or engineering approach to solving problems. And this is both applicable to learning to code and to LeetCode, right? Your mindset should be, well, I don't know the answer, but somehow, some way, I don't know what it is, but I'll figure it out along the way, right? So let's just say that you're learning to code. You're learning front end or full stack development, for example. I don't know how to, when I press a button, I don't know how to pass that information to the back end and then pass that information back. I don't know, but I'm going to try to figure it out. And then you go to Stack Overflow, and then you see there's a whole bunch of answers that people are giving you, or there's slight variation to what you want it to do. What you need to do is you need to say to yourself, okay, so this is what Stack Overflow is saying. Why don't I try it, right? And then you'll probably get the program that yells at you, or you're probably going to get an error, and you have to debug that and be okay with that, right? Just know that you're going to somehow get to the answer, but you don't know what it is. And I think this is the reason why people get stuck in tutorial hell, is because they're so comfortable in being in these structured environments that they're uncomfortable with not really knowing what the answer is. But that really is what an engineer is paid six figures to do, really. It's to solve these problems that are kind of ambiguous and create a working solution to the problem, right? So, the whole premise behind engineering is taking this high level concept of what you want it to do, breaking all of this into steps, and then implementing the problem. Otherwise, you're going to become a developer and not an engineer, right? And engineers always get paid more than developers, right? So you need to be uncomfortable in order to get that solution to become comfortable. Take that engineer mindset. Be willing to try different things and have most of the time your code not work, and really expand your comfort zone. You could say the same thing with LeetCode. Like, let's just say that you're kind of weak at, let's say backtracking, right? Because what I found as well is I was working on things that I was strong at. So let's just say that it was 2-pointers, right? I would keep working on 2-pointer solution, and I would avoid, stuff I was weak at, which would be like backtracking and graphs and stuff like that. When what I should have done instead is just kept working on backtracking problems and graphs until that uncomfortable feeling went away. So what you want to do is you really want to get to the point when you're slightly uncomfortable. It's like, I don't know how to display all the questions from an API and then store all the answers in an array and display it in a table view. Let's just say that was a problem, right? And then what you wanted to do is you would want to create slight variations of that. Maybe instead, your API is nested in a loop. It's like, how is that going to change it? And then you keep going again and again and again until that becomes comfortable. And then maybe you add a different feature that makes you uncomfortable again, and create all these variations until you know how to do the problem. And that's basically what LeetCode's all about. Is, you know, you have this main concept, right? Let's just say that you are doing the blind 75 or the NeetCode 150. All right, I'm done that. All right, let's do some slight variations. And being okay with the fact that you don't know it and you're going to sit there for 30 minutes and, you know, bang your head against a problem, struggle to come up with a brute force solution, and then, you know, code up different ways. Look at the discuss section and see what people are doing and the reason why, right? Just look at it, understand what the core fundamental is, and try to code it up with your own style, with your own way, using the solution that they got on LeetCode, right? Now, what's most important here, and this is why I brought up the guitar example, is because you need to apply this to all areas of your life, right? So, one of my mentors once told me how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So if you're learning to code, you need to apply that to all areas of your life, right? So let's just say that you're working out in the gym, right? You're lifting weights, and maybe when your muscles start to get tired, you stop. What I want you to do instead is I want you to do it to failure. You know, let's just say that you're doing bicep curls. You do bicep curls to failure. You know, you can't lift up another rep, and then you put the weight down, you catch your breath, and then you try to lift one or two more. This is really going to help you to train that uncomfortable muscle to really apply this when you're doing LeetCode and when you're learning to code, right? And then same with guitar. What I'm doing right now is I'm really focusing on, you know, playing really slowly, which is uncomfortable for me, and also being willing to play things that are slightly harder than my skill level, right? And that's really what made all the difference and what's really gotten me out of tutorial hell, and now to the point where I'm slightly uncomfortable, but I would say I'm more competent in building out these personal projects that's going to get me hired and that got me hired. So if you guys enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.